Hey, welcome back here to another edition of Heavy Rotation, tribute to Cleveland Metal and beyond. In the studio tonight, we got Jesse Greenfeather. He's played in many bands, primarily as a drummer, but also some guitar work as well. Most notably, the band Burial Oath, US Black Metal. We're going to go ahead and get right into it with him. Thank you so much for being here, brother.
No, man, thanks for the invite. I appreciate you having me.
I know you said you've heard some of the other interviews we did so far, and we're enjoying it, man. So I'm stoked that that sort of maybe led you to coming on yourself.
Yeah. No, I actually like really enjoy watching interviews if I'm sitting at home about artists or just people that I like. So and a lot of the guys I've known. So it's kind of, you get to learn stuff you didn't know about people you already know, which is kind of cool. So.
Yeah, actually, totally. It's been that way for me. Like, was the one thing. So I just had that Brian from Ad Nauseum and Blood coming on the show, and he had a really funny story about Dan Saladin. Do you know Dan from Blood Covenant?
Yeah, we've played together before.
Yeah, they've been doing it forever, right? So I guess there was a show like many years ago where they had Mikhail Graves, the replacement Misfits singer.
Oh yeah.
And he like got thrown in jail or something, but then the band still played, and they were like, whoever knows the songs, come up and sing. So I just found that out like last weekend interviewing Brian that Dan actually went up and like sang a couple songs with them.
Oh, that's rad. That's cool.
But yeah, we're here to talk about your work, brother. I know you're primarily a drummer. What was the jump off of playing music for you?
It goes way back. I think like any 90s dude or any person born in the 90s, you hear Joey Jordison if you're a drummer and you're like, oh, I want to do that. So I would be lying if I didn't say that he was a huge inspiration. You know, as you get older, you move away from that kind of music and you kind of find your own. But I think I was like maybe 9 or 10 when I started playing and just kind of fell in love with his playing and just tried to emulate him. And then I don't know, you get into more extreme music and I don't know, man, I think I played my first show when I was like 15 or 16 or something like that in high school, and just fell in love with it from there. Just wanted to keep doing it as much as I could.
Do you remember what you guys played at the high school talent show?
The high school talent show. We did. Well, that was a long time ago. That was a totally different band. We played an original song. We were like 14 or 15 or something. We played an original song, and everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. You know, my guitarist had this wireless that went out because it was cheap. My kick drum's sliding because we're on a waxed auditorium stage. But it was the original piece, and we did that. But even with all the terrible stuff that happened, like Murphy's Law, everything that could go wrong did go wrong. I still had a good time. So I was and then at that point you go down to the clubs, and I think my first show was with like a metalcore band, and it was funny because my mom actually like packed all of our stuff in her car and drove us down to Peabody's, and
yes,
yeah, kind of crazy.
Yeah, those Peabody shows. I think at the time it was like a lot of people would complain about it, like you gotta sell tickets and you got this and that, but like in hindsight, it was like. That was a moment in time, being there, man. Like It was like Peabody's and the Rockstar and the Pirates Cove, and there was a lot of fun had there,
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, even as a young kid that couldn't fully enjoy it, I mean, it was still a lot of good times there. I mean, that's where my career started. So,
excellent, man. What was the name of the metalcore band that you?
It was a band called Hathaway. I mean, it was like a nothing of a band, but when I was that age, everyone was playing metalcore or deathcore or some type of hardcore just because that's the stuff that was popular, right? And that's how I met a lot of the people in the scene, because that's how I got connected with even the guitar player in Burial Oath now is playing through metalcore and hardcore shows together. So
yeah, I mean, that definitely, I think for myself, yeah, it was definitely punk, and it was like punk and then Slayer, and then I kind of sort of got into hardcore. So it was like a circular kind of thing. But hey, like while we're on the subject of metalcore and deathcore, so when I posted the little like promo to Instagram and Facebook, Bill, sorry if I butcher your name, Bill, Zakovic.
Oh, Zakovic. Yeah.
Zakovic?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right. That sounds more correct. Bill Z will say, he let me know. He said, well, hey man, he also, Jesse also played on the Cholera demo release.
I did. Yeah. I sometimes forget I was even in that band. But no, those guys are great, man. It was a lot of fun hanging out with them and playing that music. Originally, when they approached me for it, I didn't really want to do it. I think I told them no at first because I'm not a big deathcore fan at all. Like I wanted to get away from it. I wanted to do my own thing. And so when they asked me the first time, I was like, no, I don't want to do that. And then I realized that Jesse from Atomic Witch was on board to play guitar. And then Jay Bird at the time, he was playing in Taken by Talons, a band from Cleveland. So there's a lot of like metal guys, and they're we're gonna do stuff different. So I was like, okay, I'll join. And then we did cut an EP, and it was a cool EP. It was a lot less deathcore than it was just a heavy metal album, but it was a lot of fun for the time. I think I was only in it for like 2 or 3 years or something, but
yeah. No, I just wanted to, I super appreciate that, like, because there's just so much. It's a cool rabbit hole to go down, like when I'm posting this stuff, and then like I was posting about Scott Bryant, and then Steve Shalati. I'm always like worried I'm going to say people's names wrong, but Steve from Odious as well, and Immolation, all that. He's like, oh yeah, don't forget Law of Destruction. There's like other bands I didn't even know people were in. So it's definitely cool to hear from the hive mind, as it were. So as you've gone through like your journey as a musician, I know you play guitar and some stuff too. Were those things happening at the same time, or were you like kind of more of a drummer first?
Definitely a drummer first. But I did grow up on Van Halen. It was my introduction into rock and roll or anything heavy metal. My mom had the CD, played it loud, and fell in love with Van Halen. So of course you hear Eddie play and you want to do that. You hear Alex play, you want to do that. But it started with drums just because of the extreme metal side of it. But I started really kind of tinkering with guitar when I was like 16, 17 years old, and didn't really take it seriously until I was like, 21, 22, give or take. So that's when I started really kind of playing. But I would say they kind of did happen at the same time. I always wanted to create my own music. I didn't really want to have to rely on another person. So I was, if I can play guitar and I can play drums, well, then I can create my own thing, right? So, and that's kind of how that was created, or how that was started, rather, was just wanting to do my own thing.
I hear that, man. And, for myself, like the vocals have always been the thing, like, cause like I could write the lyrics and even write the cadences, but then, yeah, some people are, and fair enough. They're not always into that. They're like, well, no, man, let me put my own thing into it. And then with drums, it's like, cool, yeah, can program some drums. But then drummers are like shaking their head at you, like, man, nope, I'm not going to play that. Yep. Or that doesn't even make sense on a drum kit.
You can always tell when a guitar player programs drums, by the way, just so you know. You can always tell.
So what I do, I try to keep it simple because I feel like at least I can't mess it up too bad. But yeah, I know you've done, so was the Wyld Times, was that the first sort of like instance of you, doing the guitar and the drums? And
Yeah, that was probably the first thing I did where I did everything, and that's because it was the first time I felt confident to do everything. That started in like the COVID, like middle of 2019, just not being able to play shows with Burial Oath. I was like, well, I got to do something. So yeah, that was the first time where I took to the drawing board and was like, I could do all of this, and that's what I'm going to do. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with it.
And quick shout out to Dakota Rivera, who was on the show before. I think he did a little bit of vocals on that for you.
He did, yeah. Him and I, it's funny, we never really spent a lot of time in the same room together, but he's always someone that I've respected as a vocalist, and I would think him the same, but him and I always kind of bounce ideas, and I really wanted him to be a part of the Wild Times release when we first put it out, so he was on Self-Inflicted on the first album, so.
Excellent, yeah, I got to get him back on the show. That dude is on, like, countless releases, mainly brutal death metal, but he was playing me some unreleased music that was like a new metal thing that some guy asked him to do, and like I was like, man, you're like a freaking chameleon. Get it, I definitely want to, so Burial Oath, to me, from what I can tell, and just kind of going through your, prepping for the interview, is like your big band, or like your biggest accomplishment so far. Like, I've seen you guys have toured regionally and maybe even like overseas a bit too, or
not well. So as far as Burial Oath, I consider part of my life's work, and I know that sounds silly to say, being in your 30s, but it's something that I started with my guys when I was, mid-20s. So it's been a thing for 10 years, even though we've kind of all went different paths and went different directions. It is my life's work. So, yeah, that is I wouldn't say it's my biggest accomplishment musically yet. We haven't been overseas, but we have traveled nationally, and we have a big tour coming up in the summer with Wraith and Witch Trap, and that'll be, I think it's like 20 days, so it'll be like 22 or 23 days on the road or something like that. We're doing most of the U.S. sub, like the Pacific Northwest, so it's cool to see that moving in that direction at least.
Right on, man. So with Burial Oath, how many releases do you guys, when I was looking through, it seems like you got about 3 or 4 albums out?
Yeah, so we did the first EP was something I did all by myself. It was sub the vocals. I had a friend at the time, Sean, come do vocals because I was not a black metal vocalist. So I had him do that. So the EP, and then we had a full length as a unit. And then we had like a live, like basement recording thing. We just wanted to do the true cult thing and just record something on your phone, through a little bit of EQ and compression on it, throw it out there to the world. And then we had an album where we kind of just wanted to write. Yeah, we have a few albums out. I would say official releases, maybe only 3, but there's probably like 5 out there, 5 or 6 floating around somewhere.
Right on, man. And then, with Burial Oath, like, what are some of the main bands that, you guys have worked with? Like, I want to say I've seen that you guys play with Throne a lot.
Yeah, we did a few tours with Throne, a few regional tours with Throne, just last year, actually. So they were just one of our favorite bands to tour with. So we're homies. So whenever, shout out Throne, by the way, whenever we get a chance to tour, if we're doing something regionally and we can bring those guys along or they can bring us, we're going to try. So we like hanging out with them. So
yeah, I think it's a good match, like from what I've heard of, there's commonalities between, but you guys definitely each have your own, unique qualities.
Yeah, totally.
So, and then I know you're friends with, we talked just for a sec with Thomas Haywood.
Mm-hmm.
Has he put out any music for you, or?
Yeah, he just did, the last album we did that we started the show off was, the Cycles of Suffering. He put that one out.
Okay.
And that was more, admittedly, it was kind of like a homey favor because I had just gotten off the road with Cloak and just got done with UADA, and being that touring and being in a band is a huge part of my supplemental income, I had to do something. So, and a lot of those songs were recorded for years. Like, we initially were going to do something with them, I want to say like 2020 or 2021, but we all kind of did our own thing and went different directions. And then when we came back, it was kind of more of a favor of like, I got him on the phone. I was like, hey, shoot him a text. Can we just do a CD release? Like, let's just throw something out there just to get these songs out there. And he was cool with it. So yeah, he did us a huge favor there.
Excellent, man. Yeah, that dude, I definitely need to have him come back on because we're just like barely scratched the surface of like talking about, like, I was asking him about stuff with like Abigail Williams and stuff, and then like we barely really even got into like what I initially thought we would talk about, being like the redefining darkness. So we were just kind of like going through more like the earlier, I guess you could say, part of his professional career. But yeah, great guy. Shout out to Thomas Haywood. So then, aside from Burial Oath, and I feel like we'll come back to Burial Oath for sure, but not to leave anything out, you've also been a member of UADA and Cloak.
Yep.
And admittedly, I haven't taken the time to check those bands out. How would you describe, are they in the similar vein of the US black metal, or are those a bit different? Or?
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
Cloak is more of kind of like a gothic. If I had to compare Cloak to anyone, it would probably be like a more gothic, punk-infused Dimmu Borgir with some like crusty elements. So naturally, when I got the call to play with them, that was an instant go because that's the stuff I love, right? And then UADA is just a more melodic version, maybe a little bit more melodic heavy metal than black metal, really, but it's all adjacent. So all of that stuff was, peak of my interest when I got the calls to play with those guys. So of course, I was going to take it. That's what I do.
Yeah, and then, forgive me if I get this wrong, but are one of those bands, or possibly both, like they're not based in Ohio, are they?
No. Atlanta or Cloak is out of Atlanta, and then UADA was out of the Pacific Northwest, Portland based. So so when I got the Cloak gig, I was packing my stuff into my car to drive down to rehearsals before tours. A 10-hour drive down south to take my kit down there. It's packed in a Honda Accord just to start tours. Then I'd have to drive it back up. And then for UADA, it was catching a couple connecting flights from Cleveland over there and just doing the thing and coming back home. So a lot of travel.
Right on, man. So with the flights and that, I would imagine, you're bringing maybe just your cymbals, or like how did that work out?
Yeah, it's every situation is different. I know when I was flying with UADA, it was just my kick pedal. I actually had a kit shipped out there to stash at their headquarters. That way, when I needed to play, I just had all the shells and everything ready to go. So all I'd have to do was really travel with my cymbals and my kick pedal. So when I would go out there, I'd have a kit ready to go, and then just fly my stuff home. And same with Cloak. Although when we were doing all the European stuff, it was mostly cymbals. It was just cymbals and kick pedal. We rented a backline and played. I want to say we played Hellripper's kit the whole time, the whole tour, sub like the big festivals. But
I think that's where I might have got confused earlier on Burial Oath. So as far as like asking you about touring overseas and whatnot, so was with
that was with Cloak.
With Cloak, okay. So you were doing like some bigger fests and stuff like that, or?
Yeah, we my first European tour, we ended up. It was a very lucky break. I mean, my first European tour ended up being a tour with Hellripper, supporting them, and then we did the festival run. It was like a Burning Q and then Party Son, Brutal Assault, all of those ones. So that was all Cloak.
Excellent, man. Yeah, Brutal Assault, like, I'm just trying to imagine, because when you see that flyer, it's just like so stacked. How was that one for you?
Oh, it was incredible. I think I said this in another interview because people always ask me, but I'm never too cool to be the guy who's not a fan of music and to pretend like, it's, brush it off the shoulder, it's cool. It's just, man, it's Brutal Assault. It's Party Son. You're playing with, like, let's not pretend for a second that we're not playing with and sharing an opportunity with massive artists. Brutal Assault, I got to play a show and, I got to see Emperor, and then I got to have a beer with Isan and talk about his studio and his house and all that. And granted, those moments are short-lived, but you go from these bands are what I listened to, and it's what influenced me, and then you're just like, oh man, I'm in the same opportunity as these guys. So I'm never going to be the guy that's like too cool to brush that off. So I think it's still incredible.
Most definitely, man. And then as far as the like getting away from we're gonna come back to that because I feel like we're just sort of just barely getting into it as far as the your drumming work, but yeah, so you have a newer project that we definitely want to shout out. Annul Noir?
Yeah, Annul Noir. Yeah.
Annul Noir, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is decidedly in a different vein, more like gothic, like post-punk maybe.
Yeah. Dark wave, post-punk.
Dark wave, yeah. That's really cool, man. And then I saw you guys just had a gig at what's that, Maple Grove?
Yeah, we did two for the album release. We did the show at the Maple Grove, and then we went up to Rochester. It's like a garden, like back to back.
Excellent, man. So in that you're playing guitar,
yeah,
and then some vocals as well.
Just some backing. It's funny. It's the guitar player to Barry Loth is the bass player singer. So it's just Diet Barry Loth, which is, like you said, decidedly not heavy metal. Yeah. But that's because we wanted to pull away from the heavy metal stuff and do something that was a little moodier and go down a different route that we all I grew up on all kinds of different music. I was exposed to, a lot of that stuff at The Cure, is one of my favorite bands. So of course, and then the older I get, the more I have an appreciation for like Depeche Mode and bands like that too. So, I want to play it. So I want to do it all.
Yeah. I honestly, I don't know if I'm gonna just make a point to get to it, but like, yeah, I had an idea for what's that song? Enjoy the Silence. I feel like that would work so good as a black metal song.
Oh,
some
yeah.
of these songs, because they're it's just very dark, but you gotta listen to it for a while, I guess, and like be a fan of it for that to really like present itself to you.
Yeah, there's tons of parallels between black metal and a lot of that stuff. Like one of my favorite bands is Twin Tribes. There's that cold, dead atmosphere is very much alive and well in any black metal that you listen to. Even some of the stuff that isn't necessarily cold, the sentiment of the atmosphere is still shared between those two things, even though they have their feet planted in two very different genres. So that's what I'm drawn to more than anything, is that kind of dark atmosphere.
For sure, man. And then as far as with your performances for Annul Noir, it seemed to me that like you guys, I can see you guys both standing on the stage, and then you sort of had like a table, and it was like elaborately, it was like decorated, like almost looked like it was like you were at like a wake or something.
Yeah, something like that. Again, just similar to the themes in Barry Loth, we write a lot of stuff that's introspective and darker, and we bring a ram skull and we bring some flowers to pretty it up and some candles and some incense, and even though it's a post-punk show, we still want to bring that element from Barry Loth into that stuff too. So,
So with that one, is that you guys have like a drum programming that you're playing to, or?
Yeah, so I do all the drum programming and synth and everything in that band too. And then we had a buddy, Neil, who does a lot of the mastering for like the Black Braid records and some of his own stuff even. He did all the mastering for the album and for the live tracks. That way when we go to play them live, they don't sound like basement recordings or something. So yeah. So we get them all professionally done.
Right on, man. Right on. And then so let's see here. And then as far as like circling back to like the Wyld times, is that something where you have or where you plan on is that something that would ever see the stage or
yeah, we've played before.
Oh, you guys have?
Yeah,
oh,
we played more of that is in Cleveland than anything, but we have played Pittsburgh, we played Cincinnati, we played the surrounding areas, and the shows go over pretty well. But that's just, I love Wyld Times for what it is. It's kind of like the unhinged part of the music that I like because I'm a huge Motorhead fan as well. But we I'll play when someone comes knocking at the door, but at the moment, I'm not necessarily seeking shows. So if someone comes to me and says, "Hey, does Wyld Times want to play a show?" Yeah, you betcha. I'll figure it out. But right now, the mindset is staying kind of focused on Barry Loath to push that forward. So because that's our kind of supplemental income there. So
yeah, man. And like I was saying, I think that might have been maybe before the interview started, but yeah, I mean it's very obvious. In that from your social media presence, what I've observed, Barry Loath, and just the production quality, everything that that you guys do take it very seriously, like a very professional band,
Thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah, we do. It's not so Barry Loath is a hard band, and is cheese as it may be to say, because I think there's 1,000 bands that say it, at least for me, and I know the guys that are involved now, it goes much farther beyond a musical outlet for us. It's very real. It's very spiritual for us involved in it. So there's that personal element tied to Barry Loath that is, it's kind of it's a different kind of release. Yeah, the music's fun, but yeah, of course we take it seriously. I don't we're not a big fan of like meme bands or meme culture, or we believe that if you're an artist, and you're playing music, maybe it sounds pretentious, I don't know, but if you're an artist and you're playing music, it should be taken seriously. It's it should be real and it should be serious.
100%, man. So yeah, with Barry Loath, the album came out, I want to say maybe about a year ago or so.
Yeah, just about. It was late 2024. So yeah, coming maybe just beyond a year.
Released through Redefining Darkness. I know I had seen some press from the Metal Devastation.
Yeah, those guys have been good to us.
Yeah. So it's getting around, and then if you could tell maybe a little bit more about this, you said there's a tour plan coming up.
Yeah, we're the first of 4, so a tour package of 4, but it's going to be Wraith, Witch Trap, the Black Mariah, and then us. Now us and the Black Mariah, we're doing the whole tour, so that starts in Cleveland on May 23rd, and then it goes to, I want to say maybe June 15th or 16th, I think. So we're doing the whole tour, and there's like 2 days off. Wraith and Witch Trap are going to pick up after like the first handful of days down in Texas and do the remainder with us. So, but it's cool. It's our first, we've been touring regionally, but it is our first actual tour package. And I know the booking agency has been working really hard to get us something quality and putting it together. And she's been absolutely wonderful to us since we started working with her. So
excellent, man. So when y'all are going out on tour, do you own a tour van, or is that something that you would rent, or how do you?
We rent, just through touring with other bands. It would be a short-term financial gain for us to own something, but long-term it would be a financial money pit. I've had to learn through touring with Cloak and touring with other bands that if you own a van, one day it's going to break down, and all of that ends up on your doorstep, like every bit of it. You know, the cost of repairs, the cost of junking it, whatever. I mean, when I was on the Cloak tour, my very second Cloak tour, it was almost 7 weeks long for us because we had to route our way from Atlanta to Denver, and then we had to the tour ended. I want to say it ended in like, I don't know, somewhere in the West Coast, and then we had to route our way all the way back to Atlanta. So our tour was a little bit longer, but I want to say it was like a week into that tour, right when we were going up to Canada from Portland, the van that they own broke down. And it was a not easy fix. It was like a computer issue. So we were on our way to Canada. We had to keep pulling over to, try to, fix the van. And finally we got to a point in Canada where we weren't too far away from Portland, but we were, we should probably turn around and figure something out. So, thankfully, we were only 4.5 hours from Portland. We turned around. We were going back to rent a van in Portland to catch up with the tour package. Thankfully, we did, because the van started taking a turn for the worse, and a 4-hour drive took us, I want to say, like 7 hours to get back, just because we kept having to fix the van, stop off and fix the van. But we ended up renting a van and then heading over to Milwaukee to pick up the rest of the tour. So we missed a handful of shows, but that right there was like the sterling example of why I don't recommend ever taking your own van out on tour. It's not a good invest. Short term, great. Long term, I would never recommend it.
Understood, man. And then throughout the many shows that you got under your belt, I mean, what are maybe the best and the worst? Like, I mean, you don't have to go into too much detail. Like, we don't want to trash talk anyone and indirectly.
No,
but
I'm not about that.
Yeah, of course not, man. That's no good. But yeah, like, obviously we might have already talked about some of the best. We were just mentioning like brutal assault and stuff. But like, what's maybe without naming like any place in particular, like what's just like some crazy, like stressful, like thing that's happened with a gig, or like anything that comes to mind, like stuff you've had to deal with?
I mean, I don't think there's ever such thing as a perfect show.
Sure.
I don't think I've ever been on tour and had a perfect show. Like every single night there's always something. And I think that's just a piece of it, is learning that there's always going to be some sort of issue and just powering through it the best you can. You might not be able to hear yourself, or maybe you're crammed in a corner, or maybe your samples aren't working. Something's going to happen, and you just got to kind of rip it. I would say probably one of the worst experiences I had was somewhere down south. I won't name names, but there was a small show we played, and the venue forgot to hire a sound guy. So, of course, we're on this tour package, and again, we're not conceited people, but I don't know if it was the manager, someone decided they wanted to run sound, and it wasn't good. Like, did not know the sound system at all. We actually had to have a friend come in to run the sound and try to, in a panic, kind of came in and took over the board and tried to run the sound and fix it the best they could. But again, man, you get dealt that, I think, a lot when you're on tour. There's always something. So the good news is when you do have the incredible shows where you have a plethora of gear and a plethora of sound, like those big stages. Barry Loth has played big stages like Haltom Theater. When you have access to the top of the line stuff and you have those good shows, it does make them that much better too. So, which conversely makes the lows pretty low too. So, but it's just part of it, man. You just got to get through it.
Yeah, no, I dig your attitude on that. I mean, when things are going bad, nothing's gonna make it worse than just losing your cool.
Right.
And just, I mean, it's already, right? It's like
it's already happening.
You just and we don't like to see that from people who aren't heavy metal, like, hey, it could be any style of music, but there's certain artists that have that reputation of just being like diva-esque or however you would want to say, like entitled, right? So, but particularly, right, in this style of music, right, it's like we're supposed to be a little more like, not like we need to be like super polite all the time, it's supposed to be rough around edges perhaps, but yeah, we're not supposed to be like so concerned with like every little detail, right? Like there's a natural bit of like a chaos and grit to this
absolutely
music,
yeah,
right?
organized chaos, right?
Yeah.
It's I could sit on the fence on that one, right? I don't think there's any reason to be a diva, but the hard part about touring is that if the only thing you can control is making sure your band is as tight as it can possibly be. Like us guys in Berryloth, we call it, it's treachery if you have a bad show. You're not allowed to have you can have a bad show because of sound. You're not allowed to have a bad show because you didn't play something right. So we focus on controlling what we can control. And if the circumstance is uncontrollable, I mean, of course it's a bummer, but at the same time, again, this is where I sit on the fence, because I do think there needs to be some sort of accountability for really bad sound people. But I do think that that you just got to kind of roll with the punches and do what you got to do.
Yeah. Yeah, fine line.
Mm-hmm.
I'm super thankful for you being here, man. 110%. Without the other members of Burial Oath being here, though, maybe we can shout them out a bit, like, just
sure, I'd love to.
Kind of name off, who does what, and what their favorite pizza toppings are, just what, but just
sure,
like,
yeah.
shout them out,
Yeah. No, so the one that's been doing it the longest with me is one of my closest friends, Dom DS. He is kind of the original visionary of Burial Oath with me. The singer, the new singer we have, Morgarish, or Nick. That dude, he's been with us for the last couple of years, and I feel like he's done so much for the band that I don't think that he's done so much for the band in a short period of time that I feel like he's been in the band forever. And he's great, and he does his own thing. Him and I have our own band called Off Stingin' together. That's like raw black metal, just underground, just gnarly stuff. So he's good. And then we just got a new bass player, Bob. He was in his own band, Vesca, out in Pittsburgh, but he's been, as of the last couple of years, been a really good friend, and he's been a big supporter. So when the opportunity arose that we needed a new bass player, he was the first person on the phone. It was like, hey, do you want to learn these songs and play? And he's like, sure. So we brought him out to practice. He did well on the set and offered him the gig. So as far as favorite pizza toppings, I don't know. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. As much time as I spent with him, I still couldn't tell you.
When you're out on tour, like, what's your kind of game plan? I mean, like, as far as are you guys very organized? And like, I would imagine you are, and then just like I said, in the whole, like, your image and presence of, like, you don't have, like, I don't know. It's just a professional band. I mean, you see some people, and I know, like I there's things I need to improve on too, like with the stuff I do. But I mean, the consistency of, like, photo shoots look good. Everything's, like, done in a certain way. There's different there's levels to that. But like, so, like, say you're going out, like, you got everything figured out, like, oh man, well, we're gonna bring like, how are you staying, like, healthy on tour, man? Is this, like, this is important to you, right? Like what you eat and stuff, or you're just like, whatever, man.
Man, when I know the answer, I'll give you a call. No, so yeah, I mean, if a couple of the guys are a little bit newer to the touring, so we went on our first couple sprints that are a little bit shorter. It was a learning experience for them, but me and DS, we've been kind of doing our own thing for a while, and he's been on tours before. So honestly, it just comes down to sleep and hydration, man. You're gonna eat like crap at some point. Like you're gonna get to a venue, and the only thing they're gonna have is pizza. So you're gonna eat pizza for 3 days in a row, 4 days in a row. So it's really just a lot of hydration. Sleep as much as you possibly can. Supplements are good. It really comes down to sleep. So, but we don't party on the road either, man. We're like the least rock and roll band. Like we're not drinking and trashing hotel rooms like it says in the movies. Nah, man, we're trying to get to bed at a good time and just stay hydrated. So,
yeah, man, I respect that 100%. I mean, I don't know. Like I've seen where, at times it makes me wonder, because, like sometimes people, they might want to buy you like, man, great set. Can I buy you a beer? Or try to give you a shot, like while you're on the series, and then if you decline to be sort of bummed out on it, right? It sort of like shatters that image for him. But at the same time, like good on you, because I mean, yeah, you gotta wonder, man, like how, I don't know. I've seen bad shows before, and it kind of made me wonder. I'm like, why? Why is it like this? Like maybe said artist was just getting trashed every night or something.
It very well could be, man. Yeah. I mean, so I toured with a multitude of different bands, and I think by and large, the guys that I've toured with are keeping it relatively, of course, relatively clean. And that's because you have to. If you're going to live in a van for 4, 5, 6 weeks at a time, you have to, like, you're not only eating poorly, but just hammering your body with like alcohol and substances is just not healthy. So it's not going to be good for you long term. So I don't really know how those guys do it either. But I think to your point, when someone has offered drinks before, and every now and then you'll indulge, as long as you're not like going crazy, but it is a sign of respect when someone wants to buy you a drink. But I do think the majority of the times when you turn it down, most people do respect it. I don't think I've come across someone that was like offended that I didn't drink with them or something like that after a show, which is, I mean, that's great. Maybe I've just been lucky, but I'd like to think that people just understand more than anything.
Yeah, I guess it's sort of like how you say, yeah, no thanks, man, and instead of like, no, I don't do that.
Yeah, right. It kind of, yeah, no, you don't want to be a jerk about it, but it's like, no, thanks, I got to play tomorrow, got to get to sleep. That's good, so
right, and then they save $5 and they can get another beer themselves.
There you go. Right. That's for them. Yeah, I'm doing them a service at that point.
Hey man, for anyone that's listening, and they're interested in, they're already familiar with the music, or they end up getting put onto it. Like, is that, would they purchase, CD or vinyl or a T-shirt? Like, would they purchase it through Bandcamp for Burial Oath, or how would you?
Yeah, Bandcamp. I mean, we're at the point where we probably should look at other merch stores, but as I'm sure you've heard being in the music industry, and anyone can attest listening to this, it's like every single person in the music industry has their hands in your pocket at some point. So the best way for us to control that as much as we can, so we can stay touring, so we can stay moving, is to run it through Bandcamp at the moment. But we have been tossing up the ideas of, going through a distributor like an indie merch or something like that. We've not yet opened that line of communication, but right now, Bandcamp, that's it. Or come to a show, do it the old school guerrilla way.
I think that's a good, point in making, and then hopefully when you're doing the show, the venue's not taking a cut.
Not usually.
Yeah.
I've run into that a couple times, but you kind of just, the cool thing about doing that is you can kind of just slide them a fake merch list of what you sold. So like if you sold 30 shirts, you slide them something that says you sold like 7 tips, right. Or you sell it out back like all the other bands are doing. Yeah, stuff like that's absurd. If a band is there and they're bringing a crowd to drink, I don't think they have any business asking for a merch cut. I think that's ludicrous.
Yeah, I sort of wonder because like if you think of somebody like straight edge bands, like Earth Crisis, like hardcore band, like that always kind of made me wonder. Although, I think at this day and time, there's plenty of fans of that music that probably still do drink. But yeah, that was something I always sort of wonder. Like if you're actively promoting, like not drinking, but it's held at a bar, like how does that work out? Like
I don't know, man. I think it would be like the same thing though if someone's like, well, if your music's promoting Satanism, don't play at a church. I mean, I wouldn't, but I wouldn't, but maybe some would if the guarantee's high enough. I don't know. I'm not gonna yuck somebody's yum, man. If that's the, go get the business however you can. So,
yeah. Also, I think we're at a point in time where I think it's always been this way to a point, but even now more than ever, like people truly, they like the way it sounds. They like it. I mean, if the words are to their liking, that's like the chef's kiss, but
sure.
I mean, obviously, we have like black metal. I don't know if you even call it black metal at that point, but black metal that's like Christian even, which is like,
sure.
How does that work out, But it's like, hey man, I don't know. I wouldn't turn it off if it sounded cool. Like what's a band, X-Toll is like a really like I wouldn't say they're a black metal band, but they have that influence.
Yeah, something like and
they're like
a cool band.
Yeah, and I used to listen to that like all the time. I can't really tell what the guy's saying, so I know it's Christian, but I'm just like, whatever, dude. I don't care. Like
so that's an interesting point you bring up. I had that same conversation on the way back from Rochester with my guitar player or singer, but. I think maybe most people. I think you're probably right, and that's fine. I think for me, I might be a little bit more of an elitist or a gatekeeper on that front. For me, the lyrics have to match it. Like if it could be the coolest song in the world, and if the lyrics have themes of stuff that I just don't agree with or identify with, I can't really get down with it. So, and it's not like out of a place of hate or anything, malicious or negative. It's just ain't for me. So.
Yeah, I can respect that.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, that line is basically drawn with like if it's just like extremely racist or
right.
like stuff like that, which does exist, but I'm just not going to listen to it. I'm not going to go out of my way to like protest it or something. That's only gonna prop those people up because that's what they want.
Yeah, and in a way, it kind of amplifies it, right?
Yeah,
and then, that's kind of just.
It's out there. It's
out there. It's gonna be out there.
Yeah,
you don't have to agree with it, but it's gonna be there either way. And I don't amplify it if you don't want to. So I'm with you there.
But yeah, agreed on that. So we talked a good deal about Burial Oath, Wild Times. We didn't really talk about UADA a lot. So this was another band that approached you, I would say, right? Or did you see there was a gig and you reached out to them?
No. So I've been lucky to keep getting approached, but I also attribute that to meeting some people in the music industry that know what I want to do. So the first Cloak tour or second Cloak tour I did was packaged with UADA. So we were the first of three bands. So it was us, Ghost Bath, and UADA. They were the headliner, and at the time, I knew Nate that played bass in UADA, and he's actually the one that passed me over to the Cloak gig. But after Cloak, I mean, almost immediately when I got home, I think I was driving on the way back from Atlanta from the tour, and I got the text, and they're just like, "So, you want to play drums for UADA?" And I was like, I mean, maybe not come back for tour. It was like a week later, so I was in the studio, I was doing something, but I was just like, are you being for real? And they're just, yeah, I'm like, let's talk about it. So we opened that door, and of course I ended up getting the gig. I went out there, just sending in some videos, but it wasn't something that I mean, they saw me play every night, so I didn't really need to audition. It was more or less, he's good, he can play the stuff, do you want the gig kind of thing. So while it was short-lived, I took the gig, and we did a tour, and met some cool people, and came back and did my own thing. So
okay,
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you were well vetted. Like they've already hung out with you. They know that.
Yeah.
As the industry would say, you're a good hang.
I guess. Well, so yeah, I mean, I would hope so. But maybe
I'm enjoying hanging out with you.
Oh, right good. Now. Yeah, me too, man. Oh, good. So I'm a good hang. Nah, unfortunately, things just didn't work out between us and UADA. As far as I know, there's no bad blood, but being on tour with someone as a tour package is a lot different than spending a lot of time in a van with them. And it was just one of those things where we're not really vibing. Music sounded great, everything was good, but professionally it just wasn't working. So I ended up going back to Cloak temporarily, and they ended up moving on and finding someone else. And I know the drummer they have is fantastic now too, so I wish nothing but the best for them. I hope they succeed and keep doing their thing. And I did some shows with Cradle of Filth. As much as I wish I had that opportunity to support that band, at the same time I'm very happy with where I landed, just because I knew when something's right and something's wrong, and it's just Barry Loth is better off doing our thing right now. So
yeah, man, I think that's best case scenario. Yeah, yeah, the way you put it is different. Yeah, like being like on the same shows with people is one thing, but then
living with them, it's different. Yeah,
for sure.
And different strokes for different folks, or whatever they say. But but yeah, man, it was cool. The tour was fun. We played well every night, and I met. It's funny. We kind of had that. We mentioned Tommy from Redefining Darkness. Before I even really knew him, I know he played in Abigail Williams, but we sort of had that kind of moment of intersection where we were packaged with Abigail Williams when I was in UADA every night, and I spent a lot of time having fun with those guys and hanging out with them. So, and those guys were great, a lot of fun. So,
yeah, his story of Abigail Williams was so crazy, because I never realized that why he actually played bass in them.
Yeah,
about him being wasted and kicking what he thought was a beer bottle, which was actually a metal
the fence thing. Yeah, because I watched that episode and I was like, I never knew that. I never knew that's why either, dude. But hey, man, if it works, it works. So
yeah, right. Okay, tell me a little bit about, because that wasn't on my radar, your side project with one of the guys in Burial Oath. Yeah, you said it's a little bit more
that stuff's pretty raw, kind of unfiltered black metal.
Yeah,
that one's called Aufstingen, which means stabbed to death, and I think it means stabbed to death. Ooh, sorry, Nick, if I butcher that. Well, so how we met, it was it was kind of this thing where I knew Nick was a good vocalist, so I wanted him to be in Burial Oath, and it kind of worked as a trade-off because he needed a drummer in Aufstingen. So we have a lot of material we're sitting on. Hopefully we'll have an album out, but that one's for the raw black metal heads, the people that want something mean and evil and just kind of underground. That's what that's for. Actually, we did a double set. We did a double set our first Burial Oath tour. It was only 5 days, but Aufstingen was a support band for us, so that was kind of cool. It was fun to get it out there.
Excellent, man. And what's your approach in attaining that raw sound? Is that from the get-go, or is everything recorded, clean, however you want to say, cleanly, and then after the fact it's filtered or sort of made to sound more? How do you approach that?
I don't know if I'm the best person to answer that question, because I wasn't on the first album, but I know all the steps, whether it be Burial Oath or Aufstingen or Annul Noir, whatever we decide to do, all the steps we take towards production are very deliberate. Burial Oath is always going to be a very clean kind of production, so we work with Noah at a Mercenary.
Yes.
Yep. He takes care of us because we know that one's going to be the clean band. Aufstingen's kind of raw, so we're going to throw some mics on the kit at Nick's house, and we're going to record the drums that way. Wild Times was a different kind of studio that was a little, I don't know, so they all have their own lanes and their own necessities and their own artistic kind of direction, and so we choose what's best for each of those things. Yeah, just based on that. So if we want raw, we'll go raw. If we want clean, we'll go clean.
Yeah. Big shout out to Noah. He's a common denominator in most of these interviews. I've had I think you might Anton. So Anton from Witchroon is his project.
Anton. Yeah. I know Anton. Yeah.
So he saw that we were doing the interview, and then before I change your name to properly say Jesse Greenfeather. But anyway, we've Noah's mixed a song. I've been playing bass with that project.
Oh, cool.
It's sort of, we were gonna do gigs, and then it turned into, now it's studio for the moment.
Cool.
But yeah, so Noah mixed one of them, and then he mixed two of the Ancient Limbs songs. One that's gonna get released soon with Drew from Gouted Corpse on vocals on this new one coming out. But yeah, Gouted Corpse was in here. They recorded with Noah. He's just done like everyone, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you want good production, Noah's the guy to go to. I mean, I would not. We're Cleveland. I'm not going to trust anyone else with my record for Burial Oath.
Yeah.
It would be very hard. It would be a hard sell for someone to sit there and be like, I can do better than that guy. I don't know about that. unless you unless you want to give us access to a $30,000 budget for no dollars for then sure. But yeah, I'm hard pressed to believe that anyone can bring that vision to life other than him. He's been working with us for so long. So
for sure, man. Yeah, and I think the longer you work with someone, of his caliber, then like it's like that saying, like the fifth member of the band, or however they would say, like because they get in tune with your sound and like what you're expecting, like where you're mixing revisions. Hey, can you do this and that? And then
kind of, yeah. And that's one of the reasons why we enjoy Noah. He did a lot of that on Cycles of Suffering, but we just went and we have a whole album recorded with him. We're still waiting to layer some extra things in, so we're waiting to see what comes of that. But when we just hit the studio, we kind of wanted a little bit more input on producer ear, because we're not producers. I mean, I think a producer's super important for your record. So there were some things that he thought of that we didn't think of. Some other things layered in. Some things we may or may not use. We don't know. But, just things that the musician might not think of, having that external ear and just knowing what the project or what the record might call for and what we're trying to achieve. Yeah, I think that's super important. And he's really good at that. So,
yeah, 100%, man. We're lucky to have him. We'll say the metal community of Cleveland and just northeastern Ohio. We're lucky to have Noah among us. And of course, he's doing big stuff with Nunslaughter. Overseas tours and all that. We sort of touched on this, because I mentioned Throne, but yeah, like who are some of your other like just bands that you've played with and that you really enjoy, like sharing the stage with? Do you
Cleveland bands or just any?
It could be anybody,
okay.
Man. Yeah.
I mean, obviously Throne. Throne is. There's been very few bands or players in general that have sort of been intimidating to follow, and Throne is one of those bands. Especially Colin, because he's just a monster. But the band is so articulate and tight, and Nathan's a fantastic vocalist, that they're just this wall of brutal sound coming at you in the most dark atmospheric way that it's hard not to just stay engaged the whole time. So when we were doing, it was hard to follow them on the days that we would headline, but it's also hard to play before them, because it's like, okay, well, this band so it's friendly competition. So Throne is one of them. I would say there is a band called Scalding Cult, up in Vancouver, and they opened for us when we played in Cloak, and we went up there, and they opened for us when I played in UADA, and we went up there. And Tony, the guitar player, he just rips. But that band is one of the best live bands I've ever seen in my life, and they're starting to get opportunities. And then I would say the last one that stuck out to me when I was in Louisiana was a band called Pale Misery, and those dudes are this kind of barbaric. It's weird because it's got more polish than what you'd call like a war metal, but it's just like kind of war, this black, noisy, but also very polished type of black metal. And I know when Burial Oath went down there, I specifically requested to the booking agency and the promoter, I was talking to them, I was like, I want Pale Misery to be on that show. So we got them on the show, and that was cool. But the first time we played with them, I was with Cloak. And because I was so hype on them, we actually ended up playing our set a little bit faster than usual, just because of like the more metal band made us play faster. But no, those guys, Pale Misery, Scalding Cult, and Throne. But as far as Cleveland bands, Gouted Corpse is a great band. Cool for them to be on the show. Nunslaughter is obviously fantastic live. They've been doing it so long. There's a lot of talent in Cleveland. It's hard to sit there and be like definitively this band is, better or worse than the other. Maybe that's not even a thing, but there's a lot of good bands in Cleveland. So,
yeah, 100%. I think it sort of comes down to like just common denominator. Like, you've done a lot of shows with Throne, so like, and so you guys have fostered more of a working relationship, however you want to say.
Well, yeah, there's that. I mean, being cool. So, like, if you find a band you get along with, then great. That makes it even better. But then seeing them play every night, you do start to really pay attention to their set and the articulations and the stuff that they're doing, which makes it far more impressive every single night if they can continuously deliver, which is why I say Throne. I did forget to shout out Nathan from Inferi. He played drums on the Abigail Williams tour when I was with UADA. And he is probably he plays in Inferi, but he's probably one of the most incredible drummers I've ever seen live. And that dude was really hard to follow every night too. I was like, man, I don't want to do this. Like he just ups the ante every night, and I'm just like, I don't want to play anymore, man. You do it. So he's real good.
Yeah, man. Like as a person that's like mainly been a guitarist. I mean, I still mainly am a guitarist my whole life. Like I have drums at home, like for people to come over and. So we can just get to it, and I played a couple gigs with like a punk band like recently, just because I'm like on drums, because I'm like, cool, yeah, I can handle that. But man, it's like y'all are just like, so impressive, man. I'm trying to put it into words because it's like, yeah, I mean, like guitar is amazing, and then that's like the thing I love the most, and it takes a special talent to be that articulate, and when you're just like, okay, I need to, like, there's just this fret's like 2 centimeters away from there, like, but to be like, I mean, dude, like drumming, like some of this stuff and getting into like really technical stuff and just being like precise with blast beats and all this stuff. It doesn't have to even be like tech death or whatever, but just while still hitting hard, because I think sometimes, the more you start to think about technique and then some of that like intensity falls off.
Yeah.
I mean, like, yeah, that's those type of people. Shout out to Joe Lowry, because he recorded drums on both of those Ancient Limbs songs for me.
Yeah.
I mean, the difference is just so, when you see it, in person, you're just like, okay.
Yeah,
like,
it when you
it's
see it.
so obvious,
Yeah, that's
like,
something that even when I was young, something that I made sure to keep a pulse on was velocity. Because, it's real easy to sit there and hammer away at the drums during a pocket beat, but when that tempo picks up, how do you fare? How do you keep the velocity going? So yeah, I agree. I think it's a very, there's also a mental piece to it, but it's very physical. But there's also the mental piece, because you don't want to overplay certain sections, and it's really easy to sound bad as a drummer.
Yeah,
so,
or just get carried away and like gas out. I would imagine, or So yeah, I mean we got an hour on the books, but by no means are we in a rush to end this. One thing I wanted to make sure we loop back to is, that you did recently release, and I have it right here so I can say it properly, The Cycles of Suffering, through Redefining Darkness. But yeah, man, I saw, and we've talked about, but yeah, I as soon as you said it, I was like, oh yeah, because I had seen that either from Burial Oath Instagram, or maybe it was Noah or Mercenary, that you guys, I mean, there's a new album is that completely recorded, or there's like some finishing touches? Or?
Finishing touches, yeah, because it's been a long time. That Cycles of Suffering that we put out those songs were written like during COVID. They were all done. We recorded them, I think 2020. So those songs are like 5 years old. So it's a reflection of where the band was at a completely different time in their career. Now, while there's still like parallels of the new stuff, we did just do a new album. It's very symphonic, a totally different approach for us. I would like to say, without sounding conceited, that I think it's very riff-laden and very, it's a little bit, techier is not the right word, but it's not your typical droney atmospheric record, which I think a lot of people will find that there's some of that stuff on Cycles and there's some other elements on Cycles, but the new stuff is a lot less of Cycles and a lot more of just aggression and power and just overall atmosphere than a lot of the stuff we put out before. So
excellent, man. And is there maybe that's something that y'all have to stay tuned for. Like, is there a name for that album yet, or is that?
Well, I mean, there's a few things. We'll have to circle back to that one. We haven't landed on anything like that yet. We don't even really know. The only thing we know for sure is that we're preparing a music video for the new single. We will be playing the new single on this tour coming up, even if it's not released. So anyone who comes to a Burial Oath show will get that taste of the full experience, which is also pretty cool, because what we've done to some of our old songs on Cycles is, because the new record's symphonic, we've also added some different elements to those old songs that sort of add symphonic elements to the old songs that people have never heard before. So we're always trying to level up and make sure that things are very experiential at our shows, and that make sure that the sets flow seamlessly and feel good for anyone for us first and foremost, but to anyone that's attending too. So
yeah. I mean, I have not caught you guys yet live. I definitely want to. And for sure having this conversation would make that experience all that much better, because like have a little more insight into like the vision and just how you approach things. When you're doing the performances, do you have like in-ear monitors, and like how do you how does the...
I do. Yeah, the guys don't. But yeah, we do play the click tracks. We have samples. So all the symphonics we've done, especially on the record, like we've actually sat there, and while they are VST, where they are played, we did play the parts that are on there. So anything that you hear live has been played by some member of the band,
Yeah.
But yeah, we do have symphonics. We do play the click tracks. I really have the hardest job in the band, being the drummer, and then you got to make sure I don't mess up so they don't mess up, and yeah.
No, I believe it, man. But honestly, like, I think that's, it puts a lot of responsibility on your shoulders for sure. I mean, for me personally, I think that's the best case scenario, because, I mean, granted that like you trust your band, I guess that they're gonna follow you and not just be like, get lost in the sauce or whatever, and like, I mean, like, but yeah, like you got to go with the drums.
Yeah.
I mean, if the drummer starts slowing down, you're gonna naturally slow down, but it's like, yeah, you have the click strong.
So, and that's why we try to avoid that with clicks. I've played in bands. Cloak didn't use clicks. There's going to be that natural kind of ebb and flow, right? There's going to be, if you're not using clicks, you're human. It's going to be natural to speed some parts up and natural to speed some parts, to slow some parts down. But some of these songs are pretty fast and pretty serious, and it would just completely ruin the energy if we slowed some of these parts down, or if we didn't deliver them how they're supposed to be delivered. So, but the guys we have are good. Like, it's a healthy atmosphere of, again, circling back to like, we're not allowed to have a bad show. If we're allowed to have a bad show for extenuating circumstances of sound, or gear malfunctions or one of those things. But as far as playability, I mean, it's very much a kind of a players hold the players accountable mentality of, you know, even my singer was, if he hears Dom mess something up on guitar, he's like, hey man, you didn't play that right. You know, if we hear Bob mess something on bass, we'll sit there and be like, you're a little bit behind the beat there, man. You're not quite on. So it's you know, and conversely, me too. If I mess up a fill, you know, Dom's going to turn around and say, yeah, I heard that. You know, so it's very much like it's 110% all the time. And even when we're at shows, even exhausted, night over night, it goes into something else that I do think that in a lot of ways music is a service industry, because if we're lucky enough that people want to come see us play, I think we should deliver the best possible show we can, right? So I feel like it's kind of a disservice to not be playing at 110% all the time. So, and there's going to be natural things that happen that, you know, natural human flaws or human mistakes, and those things are okay, you know, but I do think that, you know, I'm lucky to get to do this, and I hope the guys around me feel the same. So if I'm out in the West Coast and there's people seeing my show, I'm going to make sure that I give them everything I got every night. So
yeah, man, I respect it. And that's just the simple truth of it, man. I mean, you have like working class people coming out, spending their money, even if they're not, well, they have to buy a ticket, right? But let's say they didn't, you know, they got on a guest list, or it was like a free show in the first place. Like, your time is your money too, right? And that's time they could be, you know, with their family and whatnot. Right. And so it's like, no, I agree with that 100%, man. Like in this day and age where there's just a million bands, the reality of that is, you know, those million bands aren't out there gigging. A lot of that will like never leave the basement. Like it's just recorded music. Right. And no slight to that if that's what their aim is. But there's still plenty of other choices, you know?
Yeah. There's plenty of choices.
Night, you know?
Especially like places like Cleveland. Even worse when you get into the West Coast. But yeah, there's plenty of choices. There's plenty of bands, and there's plenty of good bands. I mean, it's rare anymore from the tours that I've done where I could think of maybe on one hand the times in the last several years where I've seen a band that's just genuinely not good live on one of the bills, either opening or part of the tour package. So yeah, it's a tough competition. There's a lot of saturation. So the only real way you can win is to be the best. You got, and maybe not musically the best because it's all subjective, but if I'm going to be playing a show, I'm going to make sure that I'm the best I want to be. Let me rephrase. It's competition, right? It's healthy competition. I want to be the best band on that bill. I'm going to try. So, yeah.
Well, we can wind down in the next couple minutes here, but one thing I didn't touch on before, you know, and from everything I can tell, it's well deserved. They do have a couple endorsements. Saluda Cymbals, who seems to be like pretty like involved with the metal community. I know like when Joe came over, Joe Lowry, he had some cymbals. They're like custom for Nunslaughter, where they're like look like there's blood on them and stuff.
Yeah, I saw those.
And so you're with Saluda.
Yeah.
And then also it's called Woodies Drumsticks.
Yeah, Woodies Drumsticks. Just picked them up, or they picked me up rather. Either way, yeah, Saluda. And I think it's worth noting that I genuinely don't really, not that I'm anybody in the grand scheme of things, you know what I mean? But if I'm going to endorse a company, if I want them to believe in me, I want to believe in the product for sure. And I really do like the products and the partners that I have. Which is why it's been slow going. You know, I reached out to Woodies asking for me to endorse them. And upon speaking with Patrick and the team over there, they thought it was a good fit. And their products are fantastic. And then Saluda has just been, not only are their products good, but they've just been super good to me. I mean, there was one, I was leaving for Europe on a Cloak tour, and my China was broken. And I was like, well, I can't do 5 weeks on a broken China. It's just going to get worse. And within a week's time, I'm going to say less than a week, the team sent me just a prototype cymbal and had it ready to go before I left for Europe. Brand new. Like, I didn't have to worry, which was incredible. So,
shout out Saluda.
Yep.
Salute to him. So before we wrap up, for this time, I feel I'd love to have you come back another time, down the road, possibly, bring some of the other fellas with you, maybe.
Sure, yeah, we can do that.
But just anything you might wanna last minute like shout out of like. I think we sort of touched on all of there's a new Burial Oath album in the works. There's a tour following. There's new music just recently released for Annul Noir. Mm-hmm. Anything that we might have missed, or just anything you might want to add to that?
If people follow me on socials, they'll see my music and the thousands of things that I do on a daily basis. I honestly, whatever, just be cool, man. People that are cool, like that's it. If people follow me and they like my stuff, I really appreciate that. And then also like, I gotta at least give a shout out to the guys in Cloak who have, in touring with them, have become some of my closest friends and really good people to bounce ideas off of, and have been really supportive of Burial Oath moving in the right direction. So yeah, shout out to Cloak. Those guys are, doing good things, big things.
Excellent. The Atlanta connection, and then I feel like that might have went over my head a bit earlier. But by everything you said, you guys obviously have like a great working relationship. Mm-hmm. Is there, so you will in the foreseeable future continue to work with Cloak, and then, or how does that sit?
No,
with you
probably not at this point, because they have a full-time drummer, and that's fine.
I see. Okay, my bad.
Yeah. So at this current, there's just no way the two can coexist at the moment. Either way you look at it. But because Burial Oath has our tour schedule, Cloak's got their tour schedule. They're on kind of a different level because they're Metal Blade Records, and we're just now getting our feet really wet with the larger tour packages, or at least the mid-visibility tour packages. So it's, I don't think there's a way that they could if they can, then great. But no, they have a great drummer. Everything's solid with them. But who knows? Maybe you'll see a Burial Oath Cloak tour package at some point. So.
Oh, there you go. Double down.
Yep.
Hey man, thank you so much for being on tonight. Excellent chatting with you. You're a very, just in talking to you, man, I feel, like all the successes you've had and I will continue to have, I feel are very like well-deserved, man. Like you have a very, yeah, man. So, I really appreciate talking with you, man.
For sure. Thank you.
You got a good vibe, and you can tell like this is like you said, it's more than just a band for you.
Yeah,
it's
very
just
much
like,
so.
Transcending that. So, anyone that hears this episode, please check out some Burial Oath music. Check out if you want to mix things up a bit, like not just metal, not just black metal. Check out the Annul Noir, and maybe a little Wyld times. Crack open a couple beers in the garage and just vibe out. But yeah, man, on a serious tip, just to wrap up, most excellent talk with you, man. Definitely have to get you back on again, and check the calendar. Follow Burial Oath for this upcoming tour.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much, brother. So we're gonna wrap up tonight, and we'll close things out in just a second here. Take care, y'all. I'll have Storm Reaver on next time, another local Cleveland band. Peace.